My dear sisters and brothers, I hope you found something of interest to you in the gospel we just read about Jesus taking some of his disciples and climbing a high mountain where he was transfigured. Personally, a number of things struck me, but I'll try to restrict myself so that we don't go overboard. One thing I keep asking myself is, why did Jesus decide to go take his disciples to a high mountain? Couldn't he get transfigured on a level ground? Now, I tell you, in biblical times, the mountaintop was a special place of prayer and consultations with God. It was a place to encounter the divine, the deity. Now, it's important to recall what happened before this incident of the transfiguration. We know the story of how Jesus in Caesarea Philippi asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" He got various answers. He was not satisfied. And he asked them, "And you? Who do you say that I am?" It was Peter who answered correctly, said, "You are the Christ. You are the Messiah." Jesus heaved a sigh of relief and said, "At least my own apprentices know the truth about me. And so even when I die, they can tell the world about me." And it was only after that profession of faith, he then told them that they were going up to Jerusalem, and there he will suffer and die. But after 3 days, he will rise again. And after telling them this, his disciples were very sad that their master, the wonder worker, is going to die. And so Jesus went up to the mountain for two things, for two reasons. Number one, to pray, to consult with God. And the second one, to inject some hope, some faith, some strength into his disciples who were losing hope. Now, in the account written by Matthew or Mark, it doesn't tell us all the details. It's only in Luke. If you go to Luke chapter 9, verse 28, it tells you that he went up the mountain to pray. Also in Luke 9:31, you find he tells us what he was discussing with Moses and Elijah. Plainly, in Luke says they were discussing, or he was discussing with him about his imminent death. So on that mountaintop, he made it possible for his disciples who were losing hope to catch a glimpse of his glory to come, to catch a glimpse of heaven. And they were completely overwhelmed, completely overtaken, and Peter didn't want to go back. He said, "Lord, if you permit, I can make 3 dwellings here. One for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah." He must be a very smart man. He didn't include themselves because he knows the tent of Jesus will be their own too. And so, my dear friends, the mountain of the Transfiguration is the mountain of hope and faith. By what he did, Jesus is teaching us to take our problems to God in prayer. When you have something before us, take it to God in prayer. And there lay it bare before God, all our concerns and the concerns of those we know. Anything that requires taking a decision must be preceded by this kind of consultation with God, with prayer. It can be anything. It could be when you are trying to choose a career. It could be when you are trying to enter into marriage. It could be because of the problem in your family. It could be about securing a good or decent job. It could be anything. Take it to God in prayer. And I mean good prayer with all the good qualities of prayer. If we do this, we can feel God directing us when we engage in serious prayer. Just as Jesus took his disciples to the mountaintop to pray, he wants us to do the same to those who are on the brink of despair in life. The season of Lent is a good time to meet God on this spiritual mountain of prayer. One of the things the church emphasizes during Lent is prayer. You talk about the 3 pillars of Lent: fasting, prayer, and almsgiving. Today, emphasis is on prayer. My dear friends, because of this gospel passage, I would like to ask the following questions during my reflection. Number 1, do I approach God with my problems in prayer? 2, do I help people with problems to meet God through prayer? And finally, do I listen to Jesus always in the scriptures so as to have my problems transformed? We have inserted a kind of Lectio Divina this Lent just to help us to go home and reflect on the scriptures. My dear sisters and brothers, in addition to the private intentions we must have brought with us to Mass today, let us pray that, like Jesus, we may always have the courage to pray and meet God on a spiritual mountain of prayer for our needs and the needs of others. And let us pray to have the same kind of mountaintop experience as Peter and his fellow disciples did in the gospel of today, so as to have our fears and doubts removed and our problems all resolved.